Jason had never imagined that his life would take a turn like this. One day he was walking through the crowded streets of Earth's capital city, thinking about his next mission as a historian for interstellar relations. The next he found himself on the royal spaceship of the Zephyran Empire, bound for a distant planet called Zephira. It was not just a mission of diplomacy. He was to become the spouse of the alien queen's daughter, Lyra. At first, Jason had thought it was some kind of mistake. How could a human like him, with no experience in alien culture, no military training, and very little understanding of interstellar etiquette, be considered a suitable partner for someone as important as a princess of Zephira? But the humans had signed a treaty with the Zephyrans, and this marriage was meant to solidify peace. There was no way around it. When he first arrived at the palace, he was overwhelmed. The architecture was like nothing he had ever seen. Towers of crystal-like material shimmered under the twin suns, and corridors stretched farther than the eye could see. The walls were lined with holographic tapestries showing the Zephyran history of warriors, explorers, and rulers. Every detail screamed power, wealth, and pride. Lyra was nothing like the pictures the treaty delegation had shown him. She was taller than he expected, with skin that shimmered faintly under the palace lights. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent, and slightly cruel when she looked at him for the first time. Her hair moved like liquid silver, and the curve of her form radiated strength and confidence. When she spoke, her voice carried authority. "Welcome, human," she said with a thin smile. "I hope you are prepared to serve your role, though I doubt you can." Jason swallowed hard. He had expected some initial tension, but this was open mockery. He nodded politely, choosing to keep his words measured. "I will do my best, Princess Lyra. I want to understand your culture and serve the purpose of this union." Lyra laughed, a sound that echoed through the vast room like crystal breaking. "Your best? Do you even know what that means here? Humans are weak, slow, and fragile. I am curious. How long will you last in our world before you are broken?" Jason felt a flicker of anger, but he buried it. Anger here would not help him. It could make things worse. Instead, he observed. Every move Lyra made, every gesture, every smirk told him about the Zephyran culture. They valued strength, agility, and cleverness above all. Every courtier, every soldier moved with purpose, alert to the slightest insult or weakness. The next few days were difficult. Lyra continued her teasing, often calling Jason clumsy, ridiculous, or slow. She mocked his attempts to wear Zephyran clothing, his awkward attempts at eating alien food, and even the way he tried to walk with the dignity expected of someone in the royal palace. Yet Jason did not falter completely. He began to notice patterns. The Zephyrans moved in predictable ways when they fought. Their guards trained with weapons that had multiple uses, combining offense and defense in fluid motions. Jason realized that although he was human, his reflexes and reasoning could allow him to adapt. Slowly, he began to study their techniques in secret, practicing in the courtyard when no one was watching. He started with the sword. A Zephyran blacksmith had created a special blade for him, one that could withstand the strength of Zephyran strikes but was light enough for a human hand. Jason studied it carefully. He did not try to copy their movements exactly. Instead, he adapted his own human experience, blending it with the Zephyran style. It was slow at first, each movement awkward, each swing missing the rhythm of the alien technique. But every day he improved. One afternoon, Lyra appeared unexpectedly in the courtyard. She leaned against the marble railing and watched him train. Jason froze for a moment but continued. She smirked. "You really think you can learn this? You are a human, fragile and weak. It is amusing to watch you flail around." Jason ignored her words, focusing on his sword, on the precise angles of attack and defense. Then, without warning, he executed a movement he had been practicing in secret. It was a swift, precise maneuver that deflected an imaginary strike and countered with a fluid motion. Lyra's eyes widened. You actually managed that?" she said, her voice a mixture of surprise and irritation. Jason nodded slightly. "I may be human, but I can learn. I can adapt." Lyra's laughter returned, but it was different this time, less certain. She left the courtyard, but Jason could feel that something had changed. The seed of respect, faint as it was, had been planted. The palace soon prepared for a ceremonial event. It was a contest of skill, a traditional demonstration of courage and ability. All members of the court, including the queen herself, would attend. Jason was expected to participate, though he had never faced a real opponent in combat. He was nervous, but the practice in the courtyard had given him some confidence. When the day arrived, the hall was filled with nobles, guards, and courtiers. The arena was a long platform surrounded by transparent energy barriers, designed to prevent serious injury while still allowing full engagement. Jason stepped onto the platform, feeling the eyes of everyone on him. Lyra stood at the side, arms crossed, smirking as if she already knew the outcome. The first duel was against a Zephoran guard, highly trained and swift. Jason used the techniques he had practiced, dodging and striking, relying on his observation and quick reflexes. The guard was surprised by the human's speed and clever use of angles. Jason did not win outright, but he did not lose either. The crowd murmured in surprise, glancing at one another. Lyra's eyes narrowed. She had expected him to fail completely, to be humiliated in front of everyone, but he was holding his own. Her amusement shifted subtly toward intrigue, though she did not admit it even to herself. As the duels continued, Jason grew more confident. He adjusted his style based on the strengths and weaknesses of his opponents. Human ingenuity met Zephoran discipline in a way that no one had expected. He was still not as strong, but he was unpredictable, clever, and resilient. Finally, Lyra stepped forward. She was the most skilled in the court, and everyone knew it. Jason's heart pounded as she raised her weapon. She moved with grace, speed, and confidence, taunting him as she advanced. "You still think you can match me, human? You amuse me more than anyone else in this palace," she said. Jason steadied himself, holding his sword tightly. "I will try my best," he replied calmly. The duel began. Lyra's strikes were fast and precise, but Jason dodged, blocked, and countered, relying on both observation and instinct. He felt the rhythm of the fight, a strange harmony between human adaptability and Zephoran skill. Each move he made surprised her. Each maneuver she attempted was met with a clever human response. The crowd watched in stunned silence. Whispers spread through the court. Could a human really hold his own against a Zephoran warrior? After several intense exchanges, Jason executed a final move he had practiced endlessly. With a precise strike, he forced Lyra to pause, stepping back to regain balance. For the first time, she looked at him without mockery. Her expression was one of astonishment, and perhaps a hint of respect. Jason stood there, catching his breath, not celebrating, but feeling the weight of what he had just accomplished. He had survived the first test, and more importantly, he had shown that he could adapt, learn, and endure. Lyra's eyes met his for a long moment. The smirk was gone. She inclined her head slightly. It was not admiration, at least not yet, but it was acknowledgement. The human had surprised her, and she would not forget it. As the ceremony ended and the crowd dispersed, Jason returned to his quarters, exhausted, but proud. He knew this was only the beginning. The palace would continue to challenge him. Lyra would continue to mock and test him, but he also knew that he had shown something important. Humans could survive, adapt, and even earn respect among alien warriors. That night, Jason sat by the window staring at the twin suns setting over Zyphora. The palace was silent except for the distant hum of alien machinery. He reflected on the day's events. He had been mocked, laughed at, and tested in ways he had never imagined. Yet he had endured. And for the first time he felt that maybe, just maybe, he could belong here, not as a weak human, but as someone capable of standing alongside Zephorans and perhaps one day, earning the trust and respect of Lyra herself. Tomorrow, he knew, the challenges would continue. But Jason was ready. Humans were not weak. Humans could adapt, and he intended to prove that to the entire palace, one duel at a time. The morning sun of Zyphora spilled golden light across the palace courtyard. Jason awoke with a mix of excitement and tension. Today would be different. Today he would face the ultimate challenge, the duel against Lyra herself. The previous day's events had left the court buzzing with whispers of disbelief. A human had survived the contests and even surprised the best warriors. But now it was no longer a casual display. This duel would prove whether Jason truly belonged in the Zephoran palace, or if he was nothing more than a fleeting curiosity. He donned the training attire carefully prepared for him. It was lighter than standard armor, but reinforced at the key points to protect him from Lyra's strikes. He picked up his sword, feeling the familiar weight in his hands. This blade was more than metal. It was a symbol of his determination and adaptability, forged for a human to withstand the might of Zephoran strength. When Jason arrived at the central arena, the crowd was already assembled. Nobles, guards, and advisors lined the transparent barriers that marked the duel ground. Their expressions ranged from curiosity to disbelief, but all carried the same thought. Could a human truly survive against Lyra, the Xiferan princess renowned for unmatched combat skill? Lyra appeared, her presence commanding every eye. Her armor shimmered in the morning light, perfectly sculpted to allow both movement and protection. She stepped onto the arena with the confidence of someone who had never faced defeat. The laughter that had once mocked Jason was gone. In its place was a calm, almost predatory focus. Jason stepped forward, sword ready. He kept his movements controlled, measured, and steady. He knew Lyra would not give him any advantage. Every gesture, every glance had a purpose, and he would need to anticipate it all. The duel began with Lyra striking first, her sword moving faster than Jason could have imagined. He blocked, twisted, and countered, using techniques he had practiced endlessly in secret. His human instincts added unpredictability, and he surprised Lyra with a sidestep she had not anticipated. For the first time, the audience gasped. Lyra's strikes grew more forceful. She attacked from different angles, combining speed with precise, powerful swings. Jason responded with patience. He had learned the value of endurance and observation. Each time he blocked a strike, he noted a small pattern, a slight weakness in her stance or timing. He did not attack recklessly. Instead, he waited for the right moment. Several minutes passed, and the duel became a blur of steel and motion. Jason's movements were fluid, a blend of human creativity and Xiferan technique. Lyra, who had rarely been challenged in her life, was visibly unsettled. She adapted quickly, increasing the intensity, but Jason remained focused. Each strike he deflected and each maneuver he executed chipped away at the invisible barrier of superiority she had built around herself. The crowd watched in awe. Whispers spread like wildfire. He is human, yet he matches her. How can he move like that? I have never seen such skill from a human. For the first time, the court began to question their assumptions. Humans were considered fragile and weak, but here was proof that adaptability, intelligence, and courage could rival raw strength. Lyra launched a series of rapid attacks, forcing Jason back. He stumbled slightly, but he recovered quickly. His mind worked faster than ever, calculating angles, anticipating strikes, and responding with precision. With one swift motion, he disarmed an imaginary counterstrike, forcing Lyra to step back. Her eyes widened in surprise, and a small frown crossed her face. She was not used to being matched, let alone challenged. Jason saw his opportunity. He adjusted his stance, centering his weight and focusing on balance. With a precise strike, he forced Lyra to parry defensively. The crowd held their breath. The duel had reached its climax. Every move counted. Every second was critical. Lyra attacked again, fast and furious, but Jason anticipated her pattern this time. Using a combination of human ingenuity and Xiferan technique, he sidestepped her strike and placed his sword in a perfect defensive position. She paused, realizing that he had not only survived her attack but had countered it perfectly. For a long moment they stood there, swords locked, breathing heavily, eyes meeting. Lyra's expression softened slightly. The mockery and arrogance were gone. She had underestimated the human, and now she could see clearly that he was not weak. He was clever, brave, and resilient. Jason lowered his sword slightly, showing he did not intend to dominate but to demonstrate his skill. "I am not here to mock or challenge your authority," he said calmly. "I only wish to prove that I can stand as your equal in courage and respect." Lyra studied him, silent for a moment. Then slowly she nodded. The acknowledgement was subtle, but it carried immense weight. She had not expected this, and in that small gesture, Jason knew he had earned her respect. The duel concluded not with a victory through force, but through mutual recognition. Jason's human adaptability had impressed her, and she realized that strength was not only in raw power, but also in the mind, in strategy, and in resilience. The audience erupted in applause, some cheering, some whispering in disbelief. Humans had long been underestimated, but Jason had shown that even a single human could stand proudly among the Xiferan elite. After the ceremony, the queen herself approached him. She had watched the duel with keen interest. "You have surprised us all," she said, her voice carrying the weight of authority. "Most would have failed. Most would have been broken. But you adapted. You endured. You have shown that humanity has a strength we did not fully understand. Jason bowed respectfully. Thank you, Your Majesty. I only hope to continue learning and to serve our union with honor. Lyra approached next. She did not speak at first, simply looking at him, her sharp eyes softening. You are not what I expected, she said finally. I may have misjudged humans. And you, human, have proven that courage can come in any form. Jason smiled faintly. It was a small victory, but meaningful. He had not only survived the test of combat, but had also begun to change the perception of humans in the eyes of the royal court. He had shown that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could rival strength and experience. Over the following days, life in the palace began to shift subtly. Lyra no longer mocked him openly. Instead, she observed him, sometimes challenging him in small ways, other times silently noting his strategies and decisions. The courtiers who had once doubted him now regarded him with curiosity, and some with respect. Even the palace guards began to train with him, intrigued by his unique blend of human and Zephyrin techniques. Jason continued to learn, to adapt, and to prove himself. He studied Zephyrin culture, their history, their language, and their combat methods. He trained daily, combining human ingenuity with alien precision. Slowly, he began to integrate fully into the palace life, no longer an outsider but a participant in its complex web of duty, honor, and tradition. Lyra, meanwhile, changed as well. The amusement and mockery were replaced by cautious respect. She began to see Jason not as a weak human but as a capable partner, someone who could match her in intellect and strategy. While their relationship was not yet friendship, a subtle understanding began to form. They had faced the test of combat and emerged with mutual recognition, a foundation that could lead to trust, alliance, and perhaps even friendship in time. One evening, as the twin suns of Zephora set and the palace shimmered in the golden light, Jason stood on the balcony overlooking the city. Lyra appeared beside him silently, not mocking, not speaking, simply observing. The air between them was different now. There was no tension, only a quiet acknowledgement of the trials they had faced and the respect that had been earned. You surprised me, Lyra said quietly. Jason looked at her, meeting her gaze. And you have taught me much, he replied. I am still learning, but I will continue to prove that humans can stand alongside Zephorans not as weaklings but as equals. Lyra nodded, a small smile forming. It was genuine this time, not mocking, not derisive. Perhaps I underestimated your kind, she said. Perhaps there is more to humans than I thought. Jason felt a sense of accomplishment, not only for himself but for his species. Humans had often been underestimated, mocked, and dismissed in the galaxy. But here on Zephora, a human had proven that courage, adaptability, and intelligence could shine even in the most alien and challenging circumstances. The palace would continue to test him, and Lyra would continue to observe, but Jason was ready. He had faced mockery, endured challenges, and shown his worth. And as the stars of Zephora twinkled above, he knew that he had earned a place, not just in the palace, but in the hearts and minds of those who had doubted him. Tomorrow, the challenges would continue, but tonight, Jason allowed himself a moment of quiet triumph. He had survived, adapted, and earned respect, and he knew that this was only the beginning of a journey that could change the way humans were seen across the stars.